Neopythagoreanism was a school of Hellenistic philosophy which revived Pythagorean doctrines. Neo-Pythagoreanism was influenced by Middle Platonism and in turn influenced Neoplatonism. It originated in the 1st century BCE and flourished during the 1st and 2nd centuries CE. The 1911 Britannica describes Neo-Pythagoreanism as a link in the chain between the old and the new within Hellenistic philosophy. As such, it contributed to the doctrine of monotheism as it emerged during late antiquity. Central to Neo-Pythagorean thought was the concept of a soul and its inherent desire for a unio mystica with the divine. The word Neo-Pythagoreanism is a modern term, coined as a parallel of Neoplatonism. History. In the 1st century BCE, Cicero's friend Nigidius Figulus made an attempt to revive Pythagorean doctrines. But the most important members of the school were Apollonius of Tyana and Moderatus of Gades in the 1st century CE. Other important Neo-Pythagoreans include the mathematician Nicomachus Agerisar, who wrote about the mystical properties of numbers. In the 2nd century, Numenis of Apamea sought to fuse additional elements of Platonism into Neo-Pythagoreanism, prefiguring the rise of Neoplatonism. Neo-Pythagoreanism was an attempt to reintroduce a mystical religious element into Hellenistic philosophy in place of what had come to be regarded as an arid formalism. The founders of the school sought to invest their doctrines with the halo of tradition by ascribing them to Pythagoras and Plato. They went back to the later period of Plato's thought, the period when Plato endeavored to combine his doctrine of ideas with Pythagorean number theory, and identified the good with the monad, the source of the duality of the infinite, and are measured with the resultant scale of realities from the one down to the objects of the material world. They emphasize the fundamental distinction between the soul and the body. God must be worshipped spiritually by prayer and the will to be good, not in outward action. The soul must be freed from its material surrounding, the muddy vesture of decay, by an ascetic habit of life. Bodily pleasures and all sensuous impulses must be abandoned as detrimental to the spiritual purity of the soul. God is the principle of good, matter the groundwork of evil. In this system can be distinguished not only the asceticism of Pythagoras and the later mysticism of Plato, but also the influence of the Orphic mysteries and of Oriental philosophy. The ideas of Plato are no longer self-subsistent entities but are the elements which constitute the content of spiritual activity. The non-material universe is regarded as the sphere of mind or spirit. A basilica where Neo-Pythagoreans held their meetings in the 1st century was found near Porta Maggiore on Via Praenestina in Rome. Bibliography. Pythagoras and the Pythagoreans. A Brief History by Charles H. Kahn, Publisher. Hackett Pub Co. ISBN 0-87220-575-4, ISBN 978-0872205758. This article incorporates text from a publication now in the public domain. Chisholm, Hugh, ed. Neo-Pythagoreanism. Encyclopaedia Britannica. Cambridge University Press.